to be in the barracks looking at you sleeping or
Right.
being in a shower looking at you naked, because they don't care about that.
Right, but if you do have a person doing that, it can make somebody uncomfortable to the point that they're not watching their back and watching the other person's back, which you need in a combat position. The studies that have been out have said that.
No, you can make the same comments about integrated blacks in the military too.
No. There are no studies, Radine, that even corroborate anything that you just said. What you just said is absolute BS.
No,
that if you're gay, I'm not gonna cover your backside.
Or somebody's not going to cover yours.
I'm not going to say that you're not going to cover. I'm saying that somebody might perceive this, and there are. When the study came out this last week, when the study about DADT came out and stuff, they gave the one saying that the preponderance of, majority of the guys said that yes, that they had no problem with serving with somebody who's gay. But then they talked to the people who are in the infantry for the Marines and for the Army, and the majority of the guys who are spending their time in the field right now in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the other places where we're doing, deployments right now, the majority of those guys said, I'm not for it. I'm not comfortable. And the majority of the people that are actually infantry in close quarters having to do it have problems with it. I think that needs to be looked at.
No.
So are we now taking a vote?
No.
Are we now having every member of the military vote on whether the Congress?
They're not saying that you don't. They're not saying that these infantrymen are not saying, that if you're gay you can't be there. What they're saying is, I don't want you telling me. Just don't tell me. I won't tell you that I happen to like it three-way, with two chicks and me, but you don't tell me that you like it, with you and some other guy or you and some other chick. Leave sex out of it.
Okay, let me tell you
what you're doing with that.
What I
leave
think
it
the
out.
bigger issue is, and I think it was brought up by Secretary Gates, and he said, if Congress does not make the decision to repeal, don't ask, don't tell, then the courts are going to do it. And the Ninth Circuit out on the West Coast, the whole court
very liberal, yes.
will probably, not the whole court, but a lot of the Ninth Circuit is, that they will probably uphold a decision of that court, and when it does go to the U.S. Supreme Court, I could see the current U.S. Supreme Court saying, you know what, we don't even want to hear this case, which means a lower court ruling stands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think. I think that'll happen, and I think they'll look at the 14th Amendment, they'll look at all the other issues, and they're going to say, you know what, there are other things that we want to deal with, and we just don't want to overturn that decision. And you know what, I'd rather have the Congress repeal it, although, to be honest with you, I'd rather see the president have I can't use a certain word, the stones. I'd rather see I'd rather see Barack Obama have the cojones to say, I'm going to sign an executive order, but he won't do that. Or have Congress do it.
Why should somebody's sexual practice have anything to do with whether or not you serve in the military?
Because you're asking members of the military to lie, and that's why. And
if it's found out, if they're asked, are you gay? And the answer is yes, they are dismissed from the military. There is a second and third practical consideration to this.
Most of the time,
you're talking about, you mentioned a very important practical consideration. There's a second and third practical consideration. Second practical consideration, a lot of the people right now, most of the people in the military who speak Arabic have been basically dismissed from the military because they're gay. These are people whose expertise the military desperately needs right now. Because they're Arab. How many people do you know who speak Arabic? But most of the Arabic speakers the military have is gay. That's just
all right. Now, can you tell me though?
Now,
is it safe to have an Arabic-speaking gay man over there, knowing that the Arabs, how they feel about gay people?
Just a guy go down the street saying hello.
How are they going to tell?
All you Arabs, I'm gay.
But see, you're just saying at the DADT that it's okay to just openly say yes, I'm gay.
If somebody says to you, are you gay, you have the choice if you are gay of lying or being dismissed.
But they're not allowed to ask that. They're not supposed to ask.
I'm sorry.
Now,
They
don't ask, you don't tell.
The third practical consideration is right now we have a volunteer army.
Right.
But I can conceive of a situation where we would have a draft once more. I really can.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a certain possibility. You don't see it in the near future, but it could happen.
Well, it always could happen.
Well, one of the ways, if somebody wanted not to get drafted, the old joke about kissing the recruiter. I mean, it's like, but the point of it,
it's don't ask, don't tell. When you're getting drafted, they're not going to ask, and you don't tell.
Okay, but there's one very important point that you're missing here, is that there are some individuals who have been dismissed from the military.
And I think that's wrong. I do think that's wrong.
Who have been dismissed because their emails were looked at. They were not doing anything illicit.
On duty.
They were not doing anything at all. And they're
He should be reinstated.
And they were thrown out of the military because or someone suspected that they were gay, and
I agree with that. I agree. They should not be discharged just because they're gay.
No.
They should not be discharged just
because... Well, then you're
because
against don't ask, don't tell, because they shouldn't be discharged just because they're gay.
They shouldn't be. They don't ask.
The way it is, the law is right now, they can be discharged just for being gay.
Right. But
the policy is we don't ask them, but they can ask them. Oh, we're not going to go witch hunting looking for people.
You know what happens?
But they are witch hunting.
But they are.
They are witch hunting.
You know what happens at a Navy base down in Great Lakes is they get caught in explicit acts on base or doing things, or they get dismissed. That's the only way it's done. Because I know the person that does the process.
Then you know what? If they're doing anything illicit, then they should be bounced.
And that's
the only way. And it doesn't matter if it's male on male, male on female, male on female.
And that's how they process them out.
You're gone.
Okay.
Down there.
But I don't think that a person's sexual preferences have anything to do with their jobs.
Speaking of, you don't want things to come out. Some people don't want things to come out. Fine. But some things the government really doesn't want to come out. Julian Assange has been a very...
Boy, was that a smooth segue?
Yeah, it wasn't it? It was very much in the WikiLeaks I'm talking about. There have been a lot of things. There have been Gates again said that a lot of this is a little bit overblown as far as worrying about damage, but a lot of things have been very embarrassing. There have been a whole slew of things that they have gotten out. Now
they haven't even seen a third of everything that's been out.
What is your take on Mr. Assange and WikiLeaks and all that?
Well, the gentleman that got the stuff should be prosecuted.
Okay.
Who took
the PFC.
PFC.
And how did he get such access to NSA, Department of State, CIA, and all these other documents over in Baghdad?
So WikiLeaks actually did the government and the military a service by showing a big hole in security.
That's right.
He did, but
I personally,
he should have.
I have to say something before you guys go on. I cannot discuss in this one though, because as a federal employee, we were issued an email communication that we are not allowed to look at or to know because anything that was released by WikiLeaks might be above my security grade, and so as such, I can't.
But you know what? He should have went to the government and says, "Here, take this stuff back.
He doesn't belong.
This is what happened."
You know something? But that's like the
Pentagon
would have been the right
papers.
Thing to Certain do. Things. Now, the question is, because some people have been after this guy and say we ought to prosecute him for espionage, but you go to any dictatorial country, and the first thing they do is they accuse reporters, journalists, of espionage.
Sure.
Especially if they come up with something that is embarrassing. All people in journalism in authoritarian countries are considered spies. This person, really, Assange, aside from possibly the sexual stuff that involved with Sweden, I don't know if that's true or not.
We don't know.
We never know.
But aside from that, he really has not, as I see it, been in violation of any law.
No, but
now, he might have done something that is
he should have gave the information back.
Well, it was improper, but you give somebody in journalism a big juicy,
Well, I served in the military, and in the Army Reserves for 7 years, and about 5
Thank
of those
you.
years I was in military intelligence.
Thank you for your service.
And it's not an oxymoron when military intelligence works well, and it usually does, that I was told that if I read something in the New York Times that's public, that's a public record thing, but yet I originally had seen it in a classified document, I couldn't say, oh, I knew that, or, it's kind of related to what you were just talking about, Radine. So I couldn't say, well, I already knew about that. So a lot of the information that WikiLeaks has been putting out is in the public domain, and a lot of these other these comments that are embarrassing that our government officials supposedly have said about other government leaders, which
were already emailed out or sent out.
Which a lot of people knew about. So whether or not that's under the heading of espionage, I would kind of doubt it. It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
And our Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said it's embarrassing. And others have said it's embarrassing, but I think those who go to the extreme in saying that he should be executed for it.
Well, why not Scooter Libby?
Well, no. Well, I think that's an extreme.
I don't think that he should be charged with espionage, but what he did was a little unethical.
Well, you might not argue that.
On
You can't talk about it. You just
No, I
said.
can't talk about any of the stories or anything. So I'm talking about a different person who pointed out lapses in our security.
Yeah.
For people who are in the Navy, they might recognize the name Richard Marcinko.
I
Now,
do. I know
okay, Richard Marcinko. Okay.
He wrote a number of books.
Yes, he has. But he also was a Navy SEAL, and he had a very specialized Navy SEAL team. And one of the missions that he did was he wanted to show how a lot of Navy bases were very lax in their security and how easy it would be for the enemy to get in there. And so to do this, he brought cameras along, and his crew went in, and they went into different, and they stole some missiles and stuff from one of our bases just to show that it could be done, and it could be done relatively easily. Well, he ended up in jail for that because, you're not supposed to do that. The thing is, he showed something that was totally embarrassing to our military. They have since overturned his court-martial. He got his rank back. He got his retirement back. But he embarrassed them. And that's basically the way I look at what Mr. Assange has done, is he's embarrassed.
Rule number one, folks, if you're in government, if you don't want to be embarrassed by something, don't do it. Yeah. Number two, if you want to do it, don't send it out on the internet because it can easily be hacked and intercepted. Number three, we'll revert back to rule number one. Don't do anything embarrassing. Well, we're winding down. We're winding down. And like I said, I wanted to get up because I've heard a lot of people say they wanted this guy's scalp. And, he's a creepy kind of little guy,
Creepy
but still
little
at the same
weasel.
time,
He's a creepy little weasel.
But at the same time, if he's a journalist, he's doing what he thinks a journalist ought to do.
I don't think he's a journalist.
No, I think he's an opportunist.
Yeah.
See, but then that's,
Okay.
then you go into that whole thing, are
Heroes,
bloggers, journalists.
villains, whatever.
Well, I'm going to applaud President Obama for actually sitting down after 2 years and compromising with the Republicans to work out a tax deal. That was a good thing he did. The first time in 2 years he's compromised.
Hero, if you happen to be willing to run for school board and you're not a teacher.
I'm going to say Russ Feingold for voting against the tax bill. He was one of the 13 votes against it, and I respect Russ for that.
He's got nothing to lose. I mean,
Well, he voted. What do you don't think he cares?
No.
And he was the only one who voted against the Patriot Act, too.
Last time I was on, you didn't get to me.
And he got away with
Go
it.
ahead, pass.
Okay. My heroes, Scott Walker for saying no to the train money here in Wisconsin,
Villain.
and Ohio for saying no as well. Both of them.
Scott Walker's
My
a
heroes.
villain for that. I'm sorry.
Heroes.
He's saved us $800 million. He's
Yeah,
not
he
a
just
villain.
cost the state a lot more.
No, he
know
didn't.
that
No,
money
he
that we
didn't.
already